Welcome to Web3 Demystified. I'm Vivi Lin, and today we're going to dive into the creator economy and explore what it means in the Web3 era. Now, our guest today is a rising star in this space. He and his team are working to unlock the full potential of creators around the world with their decentralized Web3 infrastructure. Now, let's welcome Alex Shkor, CEO and co-founder of DEIP. Alex, welcome to the show.
Hi, Vivi, and thank you for having me here.
Great. Now, let's start by asking you, what is your definition of creator economy? You know, we heard this term actually years ago, and how different is it this time in Web3 than in, like, say, Web2?
Yeah, I think with Web3, we will be able to expand it really a lot, because creator economy is basically a part of economy where we examine our creativity to produce some intangible products, like tangible assets, and within original term of creator economy, it just was like YouTubers, bloggers, and so on. But now with Web3, you basically can connect the previous creative economy space, both scientists, musicians, artists, everyone who basically use their intelligence, their creativity to produce some intangible assets. And creator economy basically with Web3 allows to kind of patent, but not in a bad way, but in a good way, just register these assets on chain very easily, very kind of seamlessly. And this also creates an opportunity for all the creators in the world to benefit more from the work they do. Is you can compare it what happened when IP industry, patent industry, became a thing. Before that, inventors were completely unprotected, and they were just producing some stuff and not capturing the value from it. And Web3 basically will allow to automate this value capturing mechanics.
Yeah, I think you mentioned one part is very interesting, you know, like the intangible assets and then put them on chain. So really unlock a lot of possibilities. Now, before we dive deeper into, you know, this aspect and also your current startup DEIP, let's just go back to to you. We would like to hear your journey and just tell us a little bit more about yourself. How did you get involved in the crypto space in the first place? And also, why did you choose the direction of the creator economy?
Yeah, so it's a very good question. So basically, I first heard about Bitcoin in 2009 or 2010, and even tried to mine it a little bit with my PC. But back then, it was nearly impossible to withdraw this money. So basically, I gave up on this rather quickly. And then I came back to it in 2013, when I was already CTO at a research company, Parallect, and we were working on distributed systems. And basically, blockchain is just another distributed system. And we were growing expertise in distributed systems in different fields, and started to work also on blockchain projects and provide it as a services from our company. And within a couple of years, we developed quite a significant expertise. And also with my co-founders, with Alexi, who was head of R&D department and leading R&D in blockchain field in that company, and Yehor Tsarik, we left that company, Parallect, and started a new journey. And we always were obsessed with the idea how to give creators more credit, basically how to make the reward distribution system for creators more efficient, and basically allow them create things and not worry about how to sell it, basically, but how to capture value from it, and how to basically shift the whole market of current creator economy, where the most value goes to platforms who distribute this content, these assets, and not to original creator. How to make it vice versa, very different. And we first focused on science industry. We're thinking that it's will be the best go to market, because it's kind of a little bit detached from all the other industries. But then we realized that it makes sense to build like underlying infrastructure first and give all the industries equal opportunities to build on top of this infrastructure, and that there is no industry which is better than others, that they're all important from social perspective, from social impact perspective. And science we just felt it obvious one because we ourselves like engineers and architects, and it was like very close to our expertise. But then we realized that art as well like is super important industry for knowledge sharing. Actually, it's just like it's more like unconscious knowledge sharing than like formalized as in science. And then we kind of pivoted like World Protocol to be a infrastructure for creator economy. And at the same time, we started to migrate it to substrate-based chain. And and then we find out Octopus through our very good friend and advisor, Alex Shkor. He basically, and Ilya, they told us that they have such a cool infrastructure, relay infrastructure in their ecosystem. And we decided to work with Octopus that time.
Well, there's so much, so much interesting information I want to unpack, bit by bit.
Okay.
First of all, I think it's really interesting that you started with from the science area. That's very niche, because a lot of people who started with like music or other forms of art, which you later on include all of that in your startup, right? DEIP. So I want to just, go back to the Web 2 versus Web 3 first in a bigger picture. What do you think went wrong in Web 2?
Yeah, so in general, if like we need like really unfold the core reason for this, I think like it's because the whole design of economy right now, like it's that capital attracts more capital, and basically in the center of current economic model, there's capital in the center, and basically everything gravitates to capital, and and the more capital and resource you have, the easier it's for you to capture more resource. And that's why like some startup can come up with the idea like how to distribute music, and venture capital can put like billions of dollars of it, and like it basically can capture a lot of market and unlock the access to this market to other players. Basically they own infrastructure, they can restrict access to all these assets, they can restrict and they also can become vendor logs, they can restrict users from moving from one platform to another one. And this is a core reason why Web 2 kind of failed. I would not say it's failed, it basically was just like a stage before Web 3, like Web 1 was stage before Web 2, Web 2 was stage before Web 3, and also led to development a lot of beautiful services, beautiful frameworks, which are still very useful. And Web 3 is just basically migration of this like infrastructure which belong to corporations. It just like migrates also to the level of a network and start to become to belong to people, to become a common good.
Yeah, I think that you're absolutely right. So I think Web3 is the ownership of our data and all this core value, because it's intangible. And in Web2, we're not saying that Web2 is useless, because it did pave the way for Web3, right? So I think the ownership to the data and to the assets, now we can have the on-chain, we have all these facilities, we have the infrastructure and technology, so that we can move it to another level. So I think that brings us to my next question, about DEIP. As I mentioned earlier, you wanted to unlock the full potential of the creator economy, right? So as we know that your protocol focuses on intangible assets and helping those assets with value discovery, evaluation, licensing, and transactions. So could you tell us how it works, and also how it's disrupting the creator economy that already existed?
Yeah, so I'll try to simplify our protocol as much as I can. So basically, we're building like this global infrastructure for registration of these assets on multi-chain. So it's also very important that there will be no chain to rule them all. There will be like multi-chain infrastructure, and it's also very important how these assets come to the chain. So we basically build incentive system for some influencers in a space to become a portal, basically a portal from Web2 world to Web3 world, and build like different portals, like for music, for movies, and help to transition these assets from one like world to Web3, from like real world to metaverse, kind of like that. And this is a very important step, because once these assets are transitioned, we can apply all these beautiful tools, like amazing tools which are already built in Web3, but not for crypto assets, but for real intangible assets, for which built by creators in different industries, and they can really start benefiting from this. And our protocol, like basically we have like a core features in the protocol, like it's basically NFT. We call it NFT 2.0 because like there's like different types of NFT. We have collections, regular NFTs, fractionalized NFTs, embedded NFTs, NFTs as a graph, references graph, and so on. And but another one important one is DAO, because like when we transition all these assets to this new virtual world, like which kind of like is above all the other jurisdictions, super jurisdictional, it also becomes a global virtual jurisdiction, and there is also a need for some organizations, and here where DAO come into place. And we also have infrastructure for DAO, like basically DAO for creators, and different types of DAOs for community, DAOs for influencers, DAOs for a project, for a team, and so on. And the third like piece of all this puzzle is obviously kind of DeFi system and or liquidity, because like once these assets on chain and people started to form organizations, why they come there? Because they want a higher liquidity of their assets, higher profitability from their assets, higher rewards from their assets. And we will not be providing all the financial services because there's many protocols already doing, but we will be providing like data feed about evaluation of these assets. And we call it like kind of decentralized bank for creators, where creators will be able to come with their asset to that virtual bank, put this asset as a collateral, and borrow stable coins from protocol to fund their future work. So they don't need even to worry about selling these assets in the first place.
So basically, DEIP is providing the fundamental infrastructure for the creators. I would sum up two things first. One is the fractional NFTs, like you use NFT as a tool. And then also you have DAO as some kind of framework or infrastructure for governance for the creators to manage their communities and manage their fan base.
Yeah,
is the understanding
right.
Correct?
That's pretty correct. Pretty much correct. Like it's not only fractionalized, but fractionalized NFTs. Like it's very important piece. It's like it's good that you made a focus on this one. And like in DAOs, it's not only for creators, like for a single creator, like or a group of creators, but it also for all industries. For example, in our network, there will be sub-networks also governed by DAO of musicians. So all the musicians will be deciding what are actually rules of creator economy for musicians, like as a global network of like global creator economy network for musicians. So they will be able to adjust specific rules just for their industries, because all these industries are different, and they can decide to lower, for example, transaction fee just for their industry, to lower collateralization ratio for borrowing stablecoins from the protocol. They also can basically decide that they want to come up with some like really creative things, like for example, universal basic income for creators in their industry to support like new creators, and so on.
I think that's really interesting concept. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about like the NFT part? We heard a lot about the hype in the NFT market months ago, and we've seen the ups and downs. So could you tell us how the fractional NFT as a part of the components in your startup, in your infrastructure, how does it work? And then also, how is the volatile nature of the NFT market going to affect the creator economy, and how you cope with it?
The volatility of creator economy market, like especially like in NFT space, I would say, it also comes because like the first use case is mostly speculative, and it's okay because like the nature of NFT right now, it's basically based just on scarcity. And what we want to bring, we also want to bring like registration of real copyright, real ownership of the asset, and also future proceeds from the assets on chain. So when you have like this intrinsic value in the asset, like an NFT, let's say if there's music NFT or movie script NFT, which also will be maybe generating income in future, or like be used or licensed to some I don't know, movies who will be using this music, or like platforms and so on, it will reduce volatility of these assets, and it will provide like additional basically capital flow to whole Web3 industry. In the first question about fractionalized NFT, so you can think about there's different types of fractionalization. So the simplest one is where you take an NFT and you lock it on a specific smart contract, which issues fungible tokens, like 100% of fungible tokens. These are basically shares of these NFTs. And like when you issue these shares, you can go, you can delegate to these shares some voting rights, like basically governance of these specific assets, whom the asset can be licensed to, whom it can be sell to, like what is a curation fee for this asset. It can be changed in the future, for example, with a vote of its token holders, shareholders of this NFT. And you also can distribute some income from this asset to token holders of this fractionalized NFT. The other option of how you can fractionalize NFT actually is to issue additional like set, like let's say collection of NFTs, like 20, for example, which will represent a digital license of this asset. So if you own like one of these 20 NFT from this collection, then you can use this asset in commercial projects, for example. And this is also a form of fractionalization of the asset. And it's why it's so powerful is because like in future, people will be able to invest into like some musician into their like album, or in future album, like which is already like, and these funds can be used for further marketing of this like of these assets and the work, the payload of these assets, and also licensing like can benefit a lot, because basically you can limit number of licenses you have and be sure that there will be no more issued, because it's like blockchain and it ensures that there's just 20 and they cannot be like multiplied, or like you cannot fake it. You always can check that is it an original NFT license of this specific asset.
Yeah, I think I've seen it a little bit similar with the concept of crowdsourcing or like crowdfunding. For example, before a patent goes out to the market, right? Or before like an artist even makes an album, but he or she could really unlock the potential of selling these assets to their fans or to their community, so they can get more support instead of like spending a lot of marketing fees and everything, tie themselves to a platform and giving out all these profits to big platforms like we do in Web2. Yeah.
This is exactly right. This is one of use cases of fractionalized NFTs.
Yeah, I think that's really great. So how is it going so far? Could you share a little bit of the use cases or stories on the process?
Yeah, sure. So we are currently launching our accelerator for like to bring new use cases, like and external use cases, but we have some use cases we incubated internally, and some of them who already came to us and who already operating like and building products within our accelerator. So one of the most developed use cases also comes from our legacy from science background, like science use cases, basically tokenization of patents, tokenization of technologies. And we have already like 14 universities in Europe who are portal operators in our prior testnet, and we will be transitioning them to main network once it's launched. And the use case is very simple. It is basically to put the technology to license and like licensing itself on a chain, on an NFT, and with this increased liquidity of these assets, because almost every university has like a lot of inventions they developed, but they don't have like enough marketing budget, because every invention can be like potentially a startup actually, you know, like, and it requires a lot of effort, and they have like, but they're producing a lot of them. And when you can fractionalize it, for example, or like use NFT as a licenses, you can increase liquidity of these assets. And in future, they will be also be able to use these assets as a collateral to borrow stablecoins from the protocol. And some universities, like, they sitting on like multi-$100 portfolio of these IP assets, not very utilized. And this is huge potential for Web3, we believe. And another use case is tokenization of talent. It's like very interesting one, because like in this case, creator is a teacher and asset is a student, like, and like the potential like realization of the student. And it was tricky to find out a way to capture the value of these because it's a real people, but there is like a way to do this. It's called income share agreements. It basically allows to teach people for free, but then they will be obliged to pay like 15% from the salary for next 2 years, for example, and only in case if they get a job in this industry they were taught about. And this also aligns incentives. And these are 2 portals we incubated ourselves. But there's like some more, like one of them is tokenizing digital content, digital creators content, like bloggers who like create like also very valuable content and distribute like this information, these like art, and like really produce a lot of content nowadays. Another one is tokenization of 3D architecture for metaverses. This is like one really cool, because this one will allow to put 3D architecture on an NFT and basically sell it to different metaverses. And you can also, for example, limit how many replicas. Another is tokenization of music. This is one really cool, and I believe the next hype in NFT will be around tokenized music. So it's basically puts rights of a music, copyright, like digital rights of this music on an NFT.
And also you mentioned earlier, DAO is obviously a very important part of on-chain governance. So I would like to hear your views on how do DAOs fit into the creator economy, and also how you use DAO for the DIP.
I think DAOs have a tremendous impact on creator economy space, and how to understand this, just imagine like very simple idea that like currently in any jurisdiction, whether it's like United States, China, or Europe, you have like just a limited number of organization structure you can use for a group of people, and most of them like basically like businesses, and creators don't want to run businesses like in general. They want something simple and flexible. And you can imagine like our DAO infrastructure as a universal global jurisdiction, which allows to basically create any type of structure, of organization structure for creators, and it can be adjusted for specific industry. And we already have like this in network. We already have DAOs for teams, for creators teams. We have DAOs for influencers. We will also be introducing DAOs for IP investment funds. For example, like you can have a fund on top of our network which just invest into NFTs or like into creators themselves. And you also can basically just plug and play the existing solution, just set the parameters, name it, like set parameters for a quorum for decision making, and launch your DAO really, really fast. And I think like the best use cases, like actually the most important, the most valuable thing in the future for DAOs is existing templates. Because like if someone created a DAO and realized it works really well, it allows to mobilize community better. It allows to unite community better around specific goal. This template can be reused by other people, and this is also what we have within our ecosystem, is a modular constructor, which allows to build these platforms really fast and reuse existing modules.
I see. Yeah, I think like having those DAOs as infrastructure and as kind of like a service, right? So you can provide those to your creators, and then a lot of them, like I'm a creator myself, and then I think you are too. At some point, we just want to focus on creating things and don't want to be bothered by all the other business side of things. If there's a template, if there's like things on smart contract and things in place ready for us to use, and so that we can manage the community better, and then everything is following the rules, that's definitely a game changer in terms of management and everything for creators.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
Yeah, and also like Kevin Kelly used to say that for a creator, you only need 1,000 fans to be successful. That was actually in Web2 era, and now in Web3, some people even say you only need 100 true fans. So for creators out there watching or listening to us right now, I would like to ask these questions for them. What do you think is the best way for creators to really thrive in this Web3 era? And also, how do we get the first 100 true fans in the first place? Do you have any suggestions or ideas?
Yeah, I think actually it's also very tied to DAO discussion. So I think in future creators really will be creating their DAO and onboarding their fans, and only those who will be able to kind of learn fast and go through this learning curve barrier and really learn how to operate within DAO. It definitely will be them will be less than volume fan base. Some of them will not be able to come to this DAO, but I think this is the entrance point for them into Web3 industry, because when they have a really efficient DAO structure, they can really extract a lot more value from their fan base and really can mobilize the talent of their fan base. And it's actually something like co-creation together with your fans. And it's not even to manage them, you just join them. You join all your fans to your kind of virtual company, virtual organization, and now you start to co-create. Now you start to cooperate with them.
Also the design of tokenomics as well. You empower your real fans with your tokens, and then so everyone is like a shareholder, everyone has a piece of your value, your intangible assets. They are the real fans, and they can't wait. You introduced earlier, DEIP is launching your own app chain on Octopus in the NEAR ecosystem.
Yeah, I usually start with technical reasons, but now I will start with people reasons. I think working with NEAR and with Octopus is really partnerships we ever had. Really, we receive a lot of help and personal support from Luis, from all the team members from Octopus, and it really helps us a lot. And but from technical reasons, there's also a bunch of technical reasons why as a substrate chain, Octopus is the best choice. So first of all, Octopus is much more cost efficient comparing to other options for substrate-based chains. Secondly, Octopus is really fast and scalable because it's built on NEAR, and NEAR has really very powerful sharding model. And with it basically makes it future proof. So it doesn't matter how many app chains will join, we will have our our performance in place. And also I think it's also very cool that Octopus is basically relay chain infrastructure protocol implemented on NEAR chain, and it also allows Octopus to develop functionality faster because they don't need to develop their own chain. They basically develop in smart contracts on NEAR, and they really within just a year there's huge progress from Octopus team. I'm just looking forward what we can do together in the future. And the ecosystem reason is because when we connected to NEAR ecosystem, which is already a successful smart contract platform, we can benefit from all the projects, all the ecosystem projects built on NEAR, because we can bridge assets from our chain to Near, and let's say like transfer some bundle of NFT to like different NFT platforms on Near, transfer a DAO to Near, like and transfer just fungible assets to Near, and basically use these assets within DeFi ecosystem projects on Near. So there's like really a lot of value in this, and we believe that this collaboration like will be like really fruitful.
Yeah, I can see that. So I think let's go back to the creator economy. So what do you think it takes for creators to be successful? What kind of skills or mindset do you think that requires?
Yeah, I think now it's very important to be open-minded and to be really welcoming to new ideas and new paradigm, because like when you enter to Web3, you need really to absorb a lot of knowledge, but also need to absorb like a lot of concepts, and like maybe not even a lot, but they're so new, they're so different to the current world that you really need to be very open-minded. And when you just get it, and it's not that hard, it's just like it requires some time obviously and diligence, but once you get it, you can like operate with this new Web3 ecosystem. And I think it will require less and less work on just promoting themselves, like because like when you enter Web3 ecosystem and do something valuable for it, really people reward you, like the world community reward you for this. So I believe first movers will really enjoy a lot of rewards, both financial and reputational, from Web3 community.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think people really just shouldn't be intimidated, right, by this idea of the crypto wallets and all that. Is actually not so complicated, and you just have to be open-minded to all the new things and try something new. And then you really, once you step inside and you keep the growth mindset, and you will realize that actually there's just so much you could do, and then there's so many benefits and rewards. I would like to ask you like a bigger question. What is your ideal scenario for the new creator economy in Web3?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Creator economy of the future is very diverse. There's like people from anywhere in the world can join really easily. And I also believe that it's very democratic. So people really participate in this voting process. They like change rules of the protocol. They really delegate their vote to some representatives, and it's like it becomes like kind of global movement. It really becomes like a parallel universe. And I also believe it's very collaborative. That people will stop really even caring like from what ecosystem they are, from what country they are. Like really they will start collaborate with each other, and it will become even more multidisciplinary. So artists will be collaborating with programmers, with scientists, like musicians will be collaborating with also movie makers, scientists, and so on. And we will have like really rapid growth of creator economy space. It will be basically kind of a next renaissance for creators.
Oh, that's so well said. Yes, the next renaissance for creators. And thank you so much, Alex, for your sharing. And dear friends, thank you for watching. Don't forget to smash the like button and check out more information. If you are interested in a creator economy and DIP, you could click the links below, and see you next time.